I think we'll have a couple more people joining us, but they, oh, there we go. Some of them might be filtering in a little bit late, but that's all right. But we'll go ahead and get started here with some quick introductions. So thank you all for coming to this professional development presentation. We're lucky today to have Lucia here with us. Lucia is a career advisor with the School of Environment and Natural Resources, and she works a lot with students who are interested in finding careers or opportunities after they graduate and also while they're still in school. So whether you've had a professional experience in college before or you're looking to secure your first one either this year or sometime in the future, this will be a good chance for you to kind of hear where you can find opportunities and different things you can get involved with on campus, and also how you can utilize career services in your college to kind of make the most out of that job search. If you have any questions, feel free to use just the chat function. Lucia and I will be keeping an eye on that as we go through. Lucia has some cool interactive parts of her presentation as well, and we'll be doing breakout rooms a little bit later. But yeah, I'll be sticking around for a few minutes afterwards too, in case anyone has anything they'd like to ask me about. You can also just send me a message in the chat too. You can just do like the private send to me, and then I can answer any questions that you may have about classes or future events or anything at all. But awesome. Without further ado, Lucia, is there anything else you'd like to say? And also, if everyone can just keep an eye on their mics too and just make sure they're muted, except when Lucia may ask you to unmute. But yeah, Lucia, if you want to take it away.
Cool, yeah, thank you. I think you said most of it. I'm going to share my screen, and I'll actually start us off with a quick little chat question here to help, I think, just kind of get us all using that chat. So for my benefit, if you could all just put your major in there in the chat, and then one word to describe how you're feeling today, however you want to describe that. So we'll give a minute for those chats to roll in. And thanks everybody for joining me on this Friday afternoon as well. All right, so we have tired, productive, excellent, unproductive, more tired, motivated, quarantined, yeah, sorry, sleepy, tired, busy, yes, lots of tired people. It's the end of the week. Normal, all right. Sometimes that's all we can ask for these days. Okay, well, thanks everybody. Yeah, just keep rolling those in, and I'll just move along here a little bit. We'll have a few other chat spots, and then if you have questions throughout too, just stick them in the chat. I don't want to blow past your questions. Sometimes I'll get a little distracted and maybe miss something in the chat. So Matt, even if you just want to like unmute and interrupt me, let me know there are things in there. Go ahead. So like Matt said, I am the career advisor for the School of Environment and Natural Resources. So I work with students one-on-one on things related to their career development. So everything from resumes and job interviews to all kinds of other career-related things. So I also teach a career development class and do a few other career-related workshops. Sorry, my computer is like trying to do an update right now, and I don't want it to do that. So the things that I want to do for you today, my goals for you, I want to help you to get to know your career development resources a little bit better. Plant a seed about resumes. So I'm not going to go too in depth about resumes because that's really a whole other workshop, but I'm happy to talk to you about that in an appointment, or I can point you toward other resources, suggest some ways to get involved as you're starting to look for internships and other opportunities, and then just help you plan to do one thing. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Okay, so we're going to start with some of these resources. So a major resource for you for your career exploration is going to be the Career Development Office for your college. So for the School of Environment and Natural Resources, I'm the go-to person that you would want to reach out to. So there's information on this slide about how to reach out to me, how to schedule an appointment, some kind of express walk-in Zoom hours that I hold. And I'll share these slides with Matt too after this, because there's some links that he can just share these slides out, and then you'll be able to access those so that you're not scrambling to write all of this down. For those of you who are not in the School of Environment and Natural Resources, you have a career office within your college. So this link will take you to a list of all those different offices, and then you can find information on their website about scheduling an appointment. They're all really great career offices with a ton of resources and people there to help you. All of OSU also has access to career counseling and support services. So regardless of your major, you can also visit them. That's a little bit more for people who maybe haven't landed on a college yet or landed on a major. And so once you've kind of landed on that, then you would go to your career office. And then Buckeye Careers, they just have some good resources on their website too. So here's one for the chat. What experience, I know that we're pretty much still in summer of 2020, and I'm asking you to think of summer of 21 now. But what experience are you hoping to gain in this coming summer? So I put a few examples in here if you want to expand a little bit more on some of them. So maybe a certain kind of internship, but also just the one word is fine. So maybe you want to volunteer. Okay, we got internship, public policy internship. So a lot of internships, field work research, research and travel. Yeah, keep them coming. Usual summer job, but if possible internship, fashion internship, cool. Yeah, so I'm seeing a few of these like hopefully travel, hopefully study abroad. And I think the lesson from this past spring that I definitely learned when helping students who were maybe thought they had an internship or thought they had a study abroad opportunity lined up is that it's always good to have a few plans in your back pocket. So it's awesome if you want to travel, if you want to do study abroad, but you should also look for domestic internships and opportunities just because we don't know what things are going to be like next summer with travel and everything because of the pandemic. So this is a good time to just start planning ahead. We've got lots of cool park internship and normal job. Yeah, awesome. Thank you, everybody. So I don't have like a golden ticket for how to find any one of these things. When I ask students how they found their jobs or how they found their internships, a lot of them give me kind of these roundabout stories about, I had a friend who worked at this one place and they referred me, or I had a family member or something like that. And that's through networking, right? And so there's still definitely people who just go online and they apply for jobs through that and they find them. And so what you should be doing is really approaching your internship or volunteer or whatever search through a combination of getting involved with different organizations, different peer groups, and then also, yeah, definitely searching online. So I'm gonna share about some of those different resources here. I can see some of you as I scroll through, so just give me like a thumbs up if you've heard of Handshake. Just like, yes, we've got some thumbs up. We've got some reaction thumbs up. Okay, all right, so maybe like about half people gave me a thumbs up. So a lot of you, even if you haven't used Handshake, you probably get a lot of emails from them in your inbox. Handshake is a really cool resource through OSU that all OSU students have access to. And so it is a job board. When employers reach out to me and they're like, I want to hire E&R students, or I want to hire your students, I tell them that's awesome. please post opportunities in Handshake. So we really try to get employers to use Handshake. And so when you're in Handshake looking at the jobs and internships that are posted there, those are posted by employers who have shown some interest specifically in hiring Ohio State students. So that's why it's one really good place to start. If you haven't already, you need to activate your Handshake account and set up your profile. So when I say set up your profile, you need to at least include, basically just do what it is asking you to fill in there. It'll tell you how much, what percentage you have completed, but you need to make sure that you're putting your year in school and so freshman, sophomore, junior, and you're updating that each year because it's not going to auto update. Also putting in your expected date of graduation. Basically, the more features that you are putting into Handshake, the more you're able to use it. And so sometimes employers will put restrictions on, like, you can't apply for this job unless you are in these years in school. And if you haven't indicated your year in school, then it might look like you're not eligible for that job. So just making sure no questions. Another reason why Handshake is particularly important this semester is because our career fairs that we usually have on campus are not able to happen in person because of coronavirus. And so the environmental and sustainability career fair that would usually be happening in person at the Fawcett Center is going to be virtual on Handshake. And so I'm not going to go into this too much because there are a few workshops that I'll give you the dates for if you want to go more in depth on how to navigate a virtual career fair, or you could always set up an appointment with me and we can talk about this. But you register through Handshake, and then you'll need to go in and actually register for specific time slots to talk with employers. And so sometimes employers haven't set up those slots yet, especially since this one's still a little ways away. So you'll just want to check like every week or so and keep adding those to your schedule for the career fair. So there are a lot of other things on Handshake as well, a lot of other events, workshops, other career fairs that you're also welcome to attend. And so just make sure that you're using this resource to register for all those opportunities. Even though it might feel like we're more separate and we're not kind of in the buzz of the university right now, there's still actually a lot going on. And once you get on Handshake and start looking at those events, I think you'll start to see that too. Okay, and then like I said, I'll send this to Matt so he can share this out with you. These are also listed in events in Handshake, so you should be able to find them. But the College of Food, Agriculture, and Environmental Sciences Career Development Office is hosting a few virtual career fair prep workshops too. And I think these would be, either one of these, they'll be the same, but would be really helpful for folks to attend. Okay. One more thing too, if you are in SCNR, you may have seen this on your Carmen dashboard where all your classes are listed. If you haven't yet and you're a first year, you might not have been added yet, and you can always email me and I can manually add you. But this is not a class. This is just a bank of different resources. So like resume examples, lists of job boards, all different ways to kind of explore careers a little bit more. If you're not in Environment and Natural Resources, it's very likely that your career office has some bank of resources. Some of them keep them in like a library on Handshake, some of them keep them on their website, but you'll just want to connect with a career advisor in your college and find out where you can find resources. So for Environment and Natural Resources, just check Carmen and let me know if you can't find them. All right, so those were some of the online ways to kind of look for opportunities. but there's more than just online, right? So for the chat here, are any of you in student clubs or organizations? And if so, which ones? I know that some of you are first years, so maybe you're still exploring this. And everybody pay attention to the chat too, because you might get some ideas of different clubs and organizations that you hadn't heard about. Cool, yeah, so Sierra Club and Unchained. I haven't heard of Unchained. Haven't heard of some of these, but there are also over 1,000 student clubs and organizations at Ohio State. So I definitely haven't heard of all of them. Net Impact, yep. Looking for orgs to join, great, we'll talk about that in just a sec. Perfect. So yeah, you can keep adding in there, but I'm just gonna cruise right along. So this link here will take you to a list on the Environment and Natural Resources website of just some student orgs that we've identified that are relevant to environment and natural resources. This was from last year, and so there are a few things that are a little bit out of date. There are probably some new organizations not on here, but it's a really good place to start if you're trying to figure out what orgs to get involved with. And they link, all of the links that it'll take you to the main student life page. And that's the page where you can find all the student orgs at the university. So I know that this is a weird semester and that student orgs can't really do very much in person. So that can definitely hamper their activities. I actually sent out a survey very recently to student organizations relevant to environment and natural resources. Some of you might have gotten this survey. And I asked them some questions about their activity level, if they're still planning anything for the fall and for the coming year. And this is just a list out of the folks who responded to my survey of folks who indicated they were at least doing some planning, so they're still active. And so you can see right here that there's still definitely a number of student organizations that you could get involved with, and just reach out to the leaders for those organizations if you want to know what their meeting times. And yeah, Matt just put, if you're looking for clubs to join, feel free to send him a message. He can help connect you with some different orgs, so that's great, very helpful. And then there was a question, can I choose to join an organization in the spring, or do most clubs only add members in fall? My understanding is that most of them are pretty welcoming to you joining at any point. If you look on the main student life page where they have all the different student organizations, there's actually for each org, there's a question about like how do members join. There are a few that might say like you need to join at the beginning of the year, but most of them just say join whenever. And I would say especially this year, orgs are worried about recruitment. And so they probably love to have you join. So if you feel like you need to wait until the spring, that's totally fine. Okay. So some of you might have heard of the Environmental Professionals Network, or the EPN. EPN, I have more on this slide, yeah. So this is a really cool resource for anybody at the university. They usually host weekly, or not weekly, monthly programs, breakfast programs. And thanks, Matt, he's putting more information here about involvement fairs so that you can learn more about student orgs too. But the EPN, they host monthly programs. They bring in professionals from sometimes, they're usually all around Ohio, but sometimes, especially now with our virtual capabilities, they've been bringing in people from other states for their programs too. And each month is a different really cool topic that's relevant to things that are going on in the environment and natural resources fields. So they record all of their programs. And so if you haven't been able to attend some of these, but you want to check out what some of the speakers have been, learn a little bit more about maybe some ways that you can get involved with these different projects that folks are doing, professionals are doing around the state, then you can also watch their past programs. Usually they're in person and they have like free breakfast. So I'm sure they're going to get back to that as soon as they can. But for this semester, it's virtual, and these are just really cool things to tune into. And when they are doing things more in person, these are opportunities to really sit down at the table next to professionals in a semi-casual manner and get to know people and make some new connections too. Okay, and then I just put this on here really quickly as well, because I know that some people are just really wanting to get out of the house. We have this nice fall weather here right now. And so I know that some organizations are still accepting volunteers if they're able to do it safely outside in a socially distanced manner. These were just a few off the top of my head of organizations that I know that students have enjoyed working with in the past. And so there's so much for you to get involved with at OSU. You don't have to go out into the broader community yet, but if you would like to connect more with the Columbus community, there's some really great stuff going on there too. And I'm happy to talk to you more about any of these, and Matt might know some of them too. But I just thought I would remind you that there are also ways to volunteer, and sometimes volunteer opportunities can turn into internships for the summer or help you connect with internships for other organizations too. All right, and then just remember also to use social media to just try and stay connected. I know it's not the same as being in person, but this is just a list of different social media and web pages that are going to help you stay connected with the CFAES and SENR community, and for your other colleges and other communities, you're going to have similar groups like this too. So I don't expect you to memorize all of these, but you'll have access. So just remember that if you're going to be on social media anyway, it's good to be staying in touch with some of these resources as well. All right. So I know I'm talking at you a lot. I'm trying to get through a lot of information. We'll have a few more chats, and then we'll have breakout group pretty soon here. But I do want to get into a few things related to specifically professional development. Just pretty much what we've been talking about anyway, but some of the things that you should definitely have in your toolbox. So for the chat, what is a resume? It's always a fun one. There's no, not going to do like right or wrong here, but how would you describe what a resume is? List of professional skills and experiences. All right. Anybody else want to take a stab at that? How long is a resume? Okay, display of your accomplishments, skills, experiences for employers, interested people. 1 page max. 1 page can have a longer master one. You just spoiled my punchline, but yes. Short description of past education. Awesome. Yeah, so I'm seeing like skills, experience, education, a lot of different things in here, and totally, yes. These are sort of my bullet points for how I would describe a resume, and really you all really hit it on the head. So it's a document summarizing your skills, knowledge, and abilities. It helps employers determine your qualifications in the early part of the hiring process. So a lot of times, this could be the first impression that you make or the first thing they ever really see about you. And as somebody mentioned, usually, yeah, we recommend that you keep your resume at 1 page when you're submitting to actual applications. But you should also have this like master or general resume that you keep for your own records. You're not necessarily sharing it out, and you're just going to keep adding to that as you have more experiences. So don't delete things off your resume after a few years. Be like, oh, that's not relevant anymore. Just keep it in that master document. And then when you apply to another job or another internship, take from that master document and create a 1-page resume that's very specific, as specific as possible to the job that you're applying to. Okay. So again, this is like very distilled resume 101. I'm happy to talk to you more in depth about resumes, and also on Handshake, you'll be able to see resume workshops that pop up once in a while too. But your resume should be very simple, actually. The margins can be as narrow as 1/2 inch on either side. So if you are just bumping onto that second page and you have 1-inch margins, a lot of times going to that 1/2 inch margin can really just save you the space that you need. I like to keep section headers in all caps because it helps them stand out without having to do anything very, very distracting to them. And then just strategically using bolding, underline, and use italics sparingly, but you can use them. And just be sure to fill the entire page. So there's no such thing as a 1/2-page resume, no such thing as like a 1.5-page resume. You should fill just that 1 page and be consistent. I'm just going to get on my soapbox for a second about templates. So please, I urge you, I implore you not to use pre-made templates. I'm not scolding you if you have one of these, totally understandable, because what happens if you go on Google and you're like resume examples or resume templates, you're going to get a lot of this. And for certain industries, like maybe fashion or design, there could be some, every industry is different and has different standards. But when in doubt, just go for simple. No photos, do not put a photo of yourself on your resume. Avoid even having columns, so don't list things in columns. And one reason for this is because there's something called an applicant tracking system, and that is an automated system that some employers use, especially larger companies. That could be the first thing that's actually looking at your resume when you are applying for positions. And it's a computer, and it can't do complicated things. It can read left to right. And so if you have color blocks or you have columns, it might even not be able to read your resume properly. And a perfectly good resume could just get spit out because of the formatting. And so one way to avoid that is just having a simple version of your resume. Are there questions about that? I know it's hard to ask questions over chat, and I'm not going super in depth. I get questions a lot on like, how do I make my resume stand out if I can't use a cool template? And really, you can stand out through your skills and your knowledge and your abilities. And that takes time. And so that's something that you want to start early on. But if you're getting involved and just taking opportunities, then you're going to have a resume that stands out without all the fancy colors. Okay. Matt, that's all right. You know, some employers might think it's cool. But yeah.
Lucia, jump in with a question that I received.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so students have been participating. Some students have participated in like a little resume review where they've sent me what they have and I offer some tips back. And some questions I've seen are things like, is it okay to include high school experiences in a college resume? So could you talk a little bit about that quickly?
Yeah, definitely. So typically once you're in college, you want to start phasing high school off of your resume. But if you're still in your first year of college, then how are you supposed to all of a sudden automatically have all these college experiences? You don't. And so for the first year, you can definitely still have high school on there. But through kind of your second semester and that first summer, you want to be getting some more experiences from college that you can start to put on your resume to bump those high school ones off. By the time you are like into your sophomore year, like partway through, you really shouldn't have very much from high school on your resume. And you don't have to list high school in your education once you're in college because it's understood that you have a high school degree. So real quick, on a scale of 1 to 5, how are you feeling, honestly, about your resume right now? 1 is not great, and 5 is awesome. Um, you can put it in the chat. Some people are giving me just their hands here. That's okay. Okay, so we've got a lot of 3s, we've got some 4s. All right, awesome. So, and some 2s, totally fine. My resume is always changing. Your resume will always be changing. So there's always room for improvement. So even if you're feeling like a 4, go to your career office and make it a 5. Okay. And I think I've talked about scheduling appointments a few times. All right. Cool. So we're doing okay on time. We're getting close to our discussion here. Another part of Professional Development 101 is LinkedIn. So some of you probably have a LinkedIn. Maybe you created it, whoops, maybe you created it, for a class, or maybe you created it just for yourself. But you really need to make sure, and actually, Matt, I use this for other presentations, and there's a screenshot of your LinkedIn on from last year, and that's good. It's because it was good. So there's Matt's LinkedIn. Look at all his connections too. But yeah, if you've created a LinkedIn, it's responsible of you and just good professional, I don't know, I don't like professional hygiene, but it's good to keep your LinkedIn updated. So don't just create it for a class or something and then let it just flounder in cyberspace. Keep it updated. Spend time building your profile. So have a bio in there, incorporate keywords to kind of highlight your skills. And these are a lot of things that you would do with your Handshake profile too. And so if you find that you're updating your LinkedIn, then you should just also at the same time update Handshake or vice versa so that you don't have to do everything twice. And once you have put together your LinkedIn, don't just sit there and hope people see you. Also use it. And so I honestly, I don't interact with LinkedIn as much as I should, but one thing that I really like to do on LinkedIn is I like to look up alumni. I like to look up alumni in the School of Environment and Natural Resources. And even if I don't know these people, it's really helpful for me to see what jobs they have now, maybe 5 years after graduating. It's helpful for me to see what internships and volunteer opportunities they did while they were in school. That helps me know what to tell students a little bit more about what to look for. And this is what I highly recommend that you all do. So I don't think we always think of using LinkedIn in this way or maybe our internship search looking this way. But if you're like, I don't know what to start, I don't know what kinds of internships people do with this major. If you find alumni or even like seniors in your major on LinkedIn, going through and actually seeing what opportunities they've done. So if you see, oh, I'd never heard of the Midwest Biodiversity Institute. This person did an internship there. I'm going to look that institute up and learn more about it. And I'm going to see if they have any internships for the summer. Okay. Some employers will post job openings on LinkedIn maybe before their HR gets them up on a website. And so it's also just good to be following employers and keeping up on LinkedIn. And also just learn from your peers. So your different career offices might be able to tell you or share reports with you about different internships that people have done in the past. For the School of Environment and Natural Resources, you can see our report from last year. There are also a few cool videos about different internships people did. There's a list of student leaders, so peer mentors who you can reach out to if you want to ask them more about their major and more about their any internships they've done. And then this also will link you to a guide on how to conduct an informational interview. So that's just where you're reaching out to a professional, or it could be a student leader, like an upperclassman, and you're interviewing them. So you ask for a little bit of their time and you just ask them questions about their job, their workplace, or how they got to where they are now. So this guide, you'll all have access to it when you have these slides. And there's kind of a little video in there too to kind of walk you through what an informational interview is. This is just another good way to explore different opportunities, different internships, and different workplaces. Okay, so we're about to break up into some groups here. And I know that that was a lot of information, but I want to get you all thinking about just kind of a small, maybe it's going to feel small, but when you're actually doing it, it's not small, it'll make a big impact. But one thing that you can do this semester, in addition to, because I know some of you are already probably involved in things, you're involved in sustains, and that's definitely a big thing to be involved with. But what is something else? So maybe it's attending a virtual career fair. Even if you're a freshman, you can totally practice talking to employers, and they might even have internships that would be suitable for you for this summer. And so that's a great thing to do as a first year. Attend a virtual career fair or conduct an informational interview, either with an upperclassman, or maybe there's an alum who you find on LinkedIn who you reach out to. Maybe it's join a student organization and try to attend all of their meetings, volunteer for a local group, etc. So I want you to all think about what would be just your one thing that you're going to do for your career development that's going to get you closer to finding internships, finding other opportunities. And I'm talking about like this semester, ideally. So Matt's going to help us get into a few breakout groups. I want you to just take a few minutes in those groups to just share your thoughts about what you think your one thing is going to be. If you're not sure yet, maybe your group members can help you out. This is going to be a little bit of peer networking, so that's great. And what do you need to do in order to get started? So if you have time, if it's something like register for the career fair, then you can sit there in your breakout group and register for it right now. And there you go. If it's something that takes a little bit longer, then maybe, you just write a quick little plan of how you're going to do it. Are there any questions here? Yeah, so Matt put the question in the chat so that everybody will be able to see it when we break into groups. That's awesome. And then after we do our groups, we'll just come back to the bigger group, report back. I'll have just a couple little announcements to share for things coming up. And then I can stick around for more questions, but we'll be done after that. So Matt, I don't know, you can see the number of people. It's up to you if you want to do like groups of 3 or 4.
Yeah, we set it up so it should be groups of 3 to 4. Lucia, how long did you want them to be in the breakout rooms for?
So we're at 41 here. Is 10 minutes too long? Like
we can start there. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll keep the main room, this room open. Lucia and I will be here. So if anyone has any questions, you should be able to pop back into here, and then you can pop back into your rooms. But yeah, let us know if you guys have any questions, but I will launch the rooms. Then you should be able to join. Lucia, it might try to put you in a room, but you should just be able to like decline being moved into it.
Cool.
Ari, did you get a room assignment? No worries. No, you're fine.
Hang out with us.
Yeah. Cool.
I know the breakout rooms are so weird. I feel like people are apparating.
I know. I just like it. I just like that feeling deeply.
So weird. Like I'm not confident when I leave a breakout room that I'm truly going to go back to the real room. I'm like, I don't trust it.
No, I know. It's so weird. Let me
Yeah.
just cast them a message. So we said, so we'll bring them back like 3:51.
Yeah. No, and I realize that like you always need a little bit longer time in the breakout rooms than I think too.
No, yeah. It always seems like it takes people a second to get started.
Yeah.
Everyone just looks at each other for the first minute.
Yep.
Perfect. Cool.
Cool.
Well, this is a super helpful presentation. Thanks for putting this together for them.
Good. Yeah. It always, especially with virtual, it feels like I'm just like really talking at them. But I
Zero
also,
feedback.
yeah, I just don't want to get, maybe I'm just not comfortable with all the technology, but I didn't want to get too many like funky other interactive things in there because I'm like, I also just want to relay the information. So,
Mm-hmm. No,
so
yeah. The more things you add, the more things go wrong.
yep, I know. Like, I will try Kahoot another day.
Let me know if you ever want to like set up a test or something. I'd be happy to do that as well because I'd be interested in incorporating Kahoot a little bit more into our activities as well.
Cool. Yeah, the career development class that I'm teaching starting end of October, I just like, I still have to do so much planning for it.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, Esther and I taught it in the spring, but it was in person and some things, you know, we learned that we want to change. So I'm just like, and it's 2 hours once a week. So I'm like, how am I going to not just lose people in 2 hours?
That's tough. That's
So,
tough. Is it synchronous or asynchronous?
it's synchronous, and I think that's important because a lot of it, I mean, you know, they're going to be practicing like their professional pitch and like practicing interviewing, and like I think there's a lot of ways to use breakout rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel like, oh, there's always more content that can be added, but I think I'll just have to let go of some of it in lieu of letting them discuss things versus me just talking and in like a lecture form. So yeah, but it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all new.
Mm. Yeah, Ari actually, who was the student who hung out there for a little while, she put together a very impressive resume for someone who's just starting their college career. So I didn't want to put her on the spot, but she's a good one who kind of already knows or has a good idea of like how to talk about experiences and how to like construct a resume. So I was really impressed with hers.
Yeah. Yeah. So what templates have you been using for resume?
Well, mostly, I mean, I'll either share them mine, which is pretty plain text format, like there's nothing fancy. It actually looks exactly like the one that you shared as an example. So I must have stolen it at some point from someone in STNR.
Yeah.
But there's that one. There's like some other ones that Fisher recommends that are also pretty plain text. And so I've just been doing those. And then there was like the fancy resume website where I would direct people sometimes to get an idea. So I feel bad about that.
You know, I mean, I think I do tell people because some people feel they're like emotionally attached to having a fancy resume. Like they feel like they're selling themselves short if they just have a resume that looks like everybody else's. And so one thing that I do tell people is like, if you want to have a resume copy that you're going to print out and hand people during an interview as like an extra copy or hand out during a career fair, then maybe you can incorporate some of those fancier colors and things,
Mhm.
because you're the one who's paying for printing out in color. So you're not like, the employer's not going to have to do that, and um,
Mhm.
there's maybe a time and place for the more colorful things. But just
Mhm.
with the digital, with the applicant tracking system, it's just like probably not a good idea.
No, that makes total sense. So I'm gonna file that away for the future as we do these things.
Yeah.
If we do have time at the end too, like if people aren't asking many questions, I did get a question about like cover letters, and so like
Yeah.
students just have a lot of questions about like what is a cover letter, when do I use it? So I don't think we need to go deep into tips, but it might just be helpful to be like, hey, like here's when you send a cover letter.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, I'd love to give a few thoughts about that.
Mm.
I know cover letters, I should probably give them more attention to when I talk about them, because I realize that I spend so much time trying to get a student's resume looking good. And then I'm like, you have to write a cover letter too. Don't
Mhm.
don't
I mean,
forget.
strong resume definitely makes the cover letter easier, but
Yeah, but the
I don't
cover
know
letter
anyone
is
who likes
important.
cover letters.
Mhm. I kind of like cover letters,
Oh yeah,
but I mean, yeah, I just like to write, so I think
gotcha.
it's like a nice challenge. Um, but I don't think I've talked to many students who like cover letters at all.
Hmm. I think just stresses them out. It's like, one more thing. And like, for some reason, nobody really talks about cover letters except when like you're applying. Resume seems to be a much more common thing people talk about, but I feel like it's just anxiety.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a weird thing. Plus, it might be a little bit generational, because I don't think millennials and Gen Z, we don't really write letters anymore. And so
Mm.
something with a letter in the title, people get very thrown off about that, I think. Like
Oh,
students,
yeah.
like, how do I format it? What do I do? Like,
Hmm. No, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, my partner was like, we were helping her draft a cover letter because she's applying for some new jobs. And yeah, she asked me like, why do we do like the address and stuff? I'm like, I don't like, there's no reason really.
I know. I definitely, when I first started this job, I think I told some students, maybe just one, I was like, oh, yeah, nobody's going to mail this. You don't need to have the address on it. And then now I'm like, I guess it's a formality. Everybody does that.
Yeah.
Our examples have that on it. So now I just tell them to do it. But I'm just like, this is going to, employers don't care.
Mhm.
Maybe it's a formality for HR, but I doubt that even that matters to them. Like, you would think
Mhm.
that you would verify, that this, you're applying to the Michigan office, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
But
No, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. And also, like, you think people would like, if people cared about it, you think they'd like put it somewhere in the application information instead of like you have to go like Google, like, where's this office? Who's the hiring manager? Like,
Yeah.
it's like guessing.
Yeah. That's very true. I know.
But
It's always annoying trying to figure out who you're actually writing your cover letter to
mm,
if they don't have a contact on the application.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I gave them a 1 minute heads up. So once we
Cool.
get 3:51, I'll close the rooms and they should
Yeah.
be prompted to rejoin us here.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, this is just literally just summing up. And then these are just like things coming up. So that's really
Cool.
all I got.
Great. No, I think this has been super helpful for lots of them. So I think,
Good. Yeah. It's always hard to decide whether to do depth or breadth, but
mhm.
I think
No,
for
yeah.
some, breadth is probably good.
Hmm. Yeah, and hopefully they'll connect with you or their college's career advisor for like that more personalized, more
Yeah.
deep help. Okay. Well, I'm going to close rooms then if you're ready.
Cool. Yeah.
We'll bring them back. They have like 60 seconds to do it, but
Yeah. So
mhm.
back right away.
Welcome back, everybody. we have a few rooms who are really getting deep with their discussion, so we'll let them join and then we'll bring them back in and we'll start back up. Okay.
Is everybody back?
We got one room left, and then we have one person who's just hanging out in an empty room. So not sure what's going on there. All right, everybody's back.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're getting close to the end. I just want to hear from you all. If anybody is willing to share, you can just put in the chat. If you just want to quickly summarize what your one thing is that you're aiming to accomplish or get started on this semester. Undergrad research assistant. All right, cool. Yeah, so if that's something that you're looking at, if there are any professors who you have classes with, who you feel like you might want to work like in their labs for them, you can always reach out to them about that. That's a good place to start. Also just finding out from other students, upperclassmen, what research they're doing. Updating Handshake account, yes, like that. Yep, researching summer 21 internships, updating LinkedIn. Start a LinkedIn, cool. Gonna go to the career fair and join Sierra Club, awesome. Creating a LinkedIn and career fair, great. Yeah, these are all awesome. So just keep those coming. I'm glad that you all chatted about that, and these are also things that you can follow up with me or with your college's career advisors in an appointment about too. So if you want somebody to hold you accountable, say this is my goal, you know, send me an email, remind me week 7, see if I'm doing it. Career advisors, we can do stuff like that. Cool. LinkedIn, career fair, great. So this is your little to-do list, and some of you, you've made some of these things your thing, so that's awesome. But yeah, just be sure to update your Handshake account. Be sure to update your resume. You probably want to schedule a career advising appointment with your college office, just to have some additional help on that. And yeah, I would highly recommend registering for the Environmental and Sustainability Career Fair, other career fairs on Handshake, staying connected too. Just a shameless plug for the class that I teach, ENR 1500. This is a 1-credit class. It's only 7 weeks long. So this fall, it's starting second half of this semester. So the first day is October 21st, also my birthday. So that's going to be a busy day for me. It is synchronous. And if you're not in environment and natural resources, but you're interested in environmental related careers, you're still welcome to take this. I think you might have to email me for instructor permission to get in if you're not an ENR, but that's fine. I do recommend this more for like sophomores and above, but if you're a freshman and you feel like you're ready to start exploring some of these things more in depth, then can always reach out to me. We can chat about this. I'm happy to have first years in the class. I just want to make sure that, you know, maybe it's more beneficial for you potentially by your sophomore year, but that's up to you ultimately. And then it's also offered in the spring, first session, but the day and time are not announced quite yet. So if you have more questions, you can always email me and ask me about this. And then I also lead some info sessions that go more in depth about earning credit for internships in the School of Environment and Natural Resources. So if you're an ENR student, I saw that a few of you are EADS, and so this is particularly relevant to you because you do have an experiential learning requirement that you can fulfill through internships. and earning internship credit, but there are a few details about kind of the timeline with that that you'll just want to check in on. So these are all on Handshake, events in Handshake. And if you have questions, you can always reach out to me too, but I would suggest attending one of these as well. So I want to see if any of you have questions. There are a couple more things I could quickly chat about too, but I really want to make sure I answer your questions. If you'd prefer to unmute yourself and just ask them, that's fine too, but you can throw them in the chat as well. You all are doing great. It's almost 4 o'clock on a Friday. You're still here, you're still awake. A lot of you are tired, as we learned at the beginning of this, but you're getting through it. I hope you all get a little bit more sleep this weekend. So Matt, do you want me to talk about cover letters in like for a minute here? Oh, okay, we've got a question. You said that some high school activities can be included in the resume, but what kind of activities? So I wouldn't really include things that you did like your freshman year of high school, but if you did a pretty robust, like if you were the president of a student club your senior year, and you did a lot with that club, then that's definitely something to include. If you volunteered a lot your junior and your senior year, it's not really about like what kinds of activities, it's just more of, were they still within the last couple of years, and was it more than like, I just did one day of helping pick up trash or something, which still really helpful. And you can still include that on your resume for involvement, but you're just not gonna have too much to say about it. So also, especially if it was an experience that's really relevant to the job that you're applying for or the internship that you're applying for, then you want to include that too, even if it was like your senior year of high school. Matt said, events and activity points for attending. Oh, sorry, Matt.
Yeah, that's for the class. Don't worry.
Oh.
For the sustains class, so don't worry about that.
Cool. Awesome. So if you have other questions, go ahead and throw them in there. But Matt reminded me when we were kind of in our breakout rooms, I don't want to forget to also mention cover letters. And cover letters are another thing that really could take a whole hour workshop to talk about. But aside from having a resume, you also need to be prepared to write a cover letter for jobs and internships that you're applying for. I always recommend writing a cover letter, even if the job does not ask for it in the application. It does not hurt to still write a cover letter. So I will send to Matt, when I send him these slides, I'll send a document that kind of walks you through the moves of writing a cover letter so that you all have access to that. A cover letter should be no more than 1 page, and it's just as much about you as it is about the organization that you're applying for, the job that you're applying for. And so it's really a balance of talking about your skills, your experiences, and your passions, but always tying that back to the thing that you're applying to. And so that is to say that there's not really a pre-made one-size-fits-all cover letter. Sometimes people tell me, yeah, I already wrote a cover letter and I just attach it to everything. But really, a cover letter is also about the specific position that you're applying to. And so you can't write that generally. There might be a few ways that you talk about yourself and your skills that you recycle for different cover letters. That makes sense. But you should be referring back in your cover letter to the position description, to the company's mission, and being sure that you're really clear in your cover letter that you have a sense of what this company or this organization is, why you want to work for them. So I know that's a little bit abstract when you don't have something right in front of you, but I'll share an example that you all can see. And that's just something else for you to be aware of. So first line of business, get your resume together. and then practice writing some cover letters for some different jobs. And that's what you can have your career advisors review for you too. How was that, Matt, for in a nutshell?
That was perfect.
Okay. Cool.
Well, it looks like we're about out of time today. So if we can all thank Lucia for the presentation and sharing some information with us all, you guys can just do like the clap thing or whatever. There you go. Thank you all for attending. I appreciate it, especially seeing how many people reported feeling a little tired today. So I hope you got something out of this presentation. John and I will keep reviewing resumes or LinkedIn's or cover letters or whatever you'd like help with. So feel free to send them our way. As Lucia mentioned, definitely utilize your college resources as well for that. So if you're in the school environment natural resources, Lucia is a good person to check in with as you're updating these different professional documents and skills and things. So if you guys have any questions, I'll stick around here for a little while, or you can send them to me and I can ask Lucia afterwards. But yeah, again, appreciate you guys all for coming. We will do some other professional development events throughout the year, so definitely keep an eye out for that. And if you're in the class, just please remember to complete an events and activities quiz so you can record your attendance today. But thank you everybody for coming, and it was good seeing you all.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thank you,
I'll
Lucia.
stop sharing my screen here and I will just head out. All right.
Yeah, appreciate it.